DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms, brought to you by some mysterious Submersia NPCs. So, welcome. We decided to have a little fun, mix up our PFPs. So each of these is an NPC that will be found in Submersia on Metis. But what they do, you're not going to know yet. So we are going to jump into some updates and then roll into some questions. First and foremost, as you can see, we have a little bit of a smaller crew today. The majority of our dev team is hyper-focused on PvP, actually all of them, and so is Hubert, but I made him do this anyway. But everybody else is hard at work on PvP, getting everything done and making it look nice and function right and all of that good stuff. And then Dreamer, of course, is in Singapore at Token 2049. I hope you all saw our new PvP trailer that we dropped whenever that was. Time doesn't exist. But we dropped a new PvP trailer. Hopefully you all saw it. It also aired during the karate combat fights, which was awesome. So Dreamer is over there getting it done, and we'll hear more about that from him next week. Aside from that, a couple quick updates. So the Stone Carver is back in Crystal Vale. So if you need to carve any stones, now is the opportunity. So make sure you keep an eye out for him. He is currently set up and his shop is open. Aside from that, I wanted to touch on permissionless real quick. So permissionless is coming up in 3 weeks, I think. That sounds right. 3 weeks in Salt Lake City. We are going to be there. We are going to have a booth in permissionless. There will be a decent number of us there. Several of our team is based in Utah, so we were able to all come together for this event. So if you are going to be in Salt Lake City for permissionless, let us know. Come see us. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that as well. The booth is going to be awesome. We do have a channel in Discord for IRL events. So if you go to the Reaction Rolls channel, you can get the event goer role. So if you want to hop in that channel, it's a good place for people to be able to communicate while they're talking about permissionless and while they're at permissionless. So it gives an easier communication method, but you don't have to. But really looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. And Sunbear, anything you want to add on permissionless?
I'm just really looking forward to it. There's so many teammates that I've only seen on screen, honestly. And so it's going to be probably one of the biggest events for our team to get together and rub shoulders. And so really looking forward to that. Also with the partnership with Metis, like they're showing up big for us as well. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun and some cool things that we'll bring. And it's, it's kind of going to be a big party given everything that's happening in DeFi Kingdoms right now with this game. So yeah, excited.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And then lastly, speaking of everything that's going on with this game, we had our PvP open playtest weekend this past weekend. I'll just say for myself, it was an absolute blast getting to watch everybody get in there and get their hands on it and try out this combat. Well, I guess you've technically tried out the combat system, but trying the player versus player version of the combat system, it was really, really fun just to watch people engage. The feedback was awesome. Shout out to ADFK and Just Crypto for organizing a tournament. The tournament was a lot of fun to watch as well. From what I've heard, it was a lot of fun to participate in. I did not participate because I don't want to get embarrassed. But it was really, really cool to watch. It came down to an epic showdown, which was awesome. shout out to Mega for winning the first player versus, well, I guess technically the creators did a tournament, but the first non-creator tournament. So big shout out to Mega for taking home the W as well. But yeah, all in all, by our estimate, we had about 750 matches played, which is awesome. Like, that's fantastic for an open playtest weekend to be able to get people in there, get them started, and especially with it being on a different chain from where it will actually go. Obviously, like the UI flow is very different from what it will be. So really cool to see people get in there, get their hands on it, and hear about their experiences, which was pretty much nothing but positive. We had some people come in who had never played DFK and just jump into it, and yeah, there's a lot to learn, and that's obvious, but they had fun, and that's the main thing. Is if people can come in and have fun, that's the goal, that's the dream. So I really enjoyed just watching the weekend, and I did play a few matches with various people as well. It was a lot of fun. Hubert, any thoughts on the open playtest weekend?
Let's see. I just kind of echoing a lot of what you just said. Thank you all for those who participated. I unfortunately wasn't able to catch too much of it live or anything. It's a pretty busy weekend for me, unfortunately, but I did watch the final rounds of the tournament the ADFK put on. Congrats to, I believe it was Mega who won that. That was a pretty cool matchup between the two of you. And it was a DFK DGen, I think, was the other side of that battle. Like some pretty crazy heroes on both sides, and it was cool to see that. Like, I think we kind of achieved our goal that the traits are very strong, and I think they slap sufficiently. But they're not just the only, like, if you have them you win sort of situation. So that was kind of our goal. Of course, we're going to continue to be on the lookout for things being maybe too strong or too weak, and adjust as time moves forward. I guess looking at you, Explosion. But yeah, I mean, it's really great to see so much engagement from you guys, and looking forward to what this means for the future. So thank you all for all your participation.
For the record, I agree. Explosion is too strong, so we're gonna nerf it, right?
Definitely.
Sunbear or Sunbach today. Sunbach, any thoughts from the playtest weekend?
From it's fun to see how perplexed people are when they see it for the first time. It is a deeply skill-based game, and I actually pulled my son in because he hadn't played in a little while. I mean, we've done some hunts and things like that, but we played for a few hours, and he was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to this. And it just, I don't know, it was just really fun to watch and pull people in to watch them kind of the shock and awe that they see with it, and the surprise they see with it. So, and then just so many great battles online, just down to the wire, lots of different strategies. It's going to be really fun to see the different combinations of hero teams put together and how they react to each other. I'm more bullish and stoked than ever. So yeah, just a lot of fun. And again, I like the shock and awe.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. And yes, thank you to everybody who participated. It was awesome, and that was the whole point. We wanted to do some testing, get some feedback, and so huge shout out to everybody who was able to jump in there and give us some thoughts on their experience. With that, we are going to jump into some questions. This week may be a little bit of a shorter week, AMA, but that's okay because that just lets Hubert get back to working on PvP. But we are going to kick off with a Hubert question. If Void Hunt essentially give level 10 equipment, will that also be the cap for the equipment shop for now, or is it going to have equipment up to level 20?
Yes, it will be the cap. So if we did make shop equipment that was geared for level 20, it would likely be stronger than the Void Hunt gear, and that's that was. I don't think that would be a good decision for us to make with the amount of effort it requires to get some of that gear. We want to make sure that that's kind of the top tier stuff for the time being until there's other more challenging ways to get better gear. So yeah, you can expect essentially it stops at the Squire's gear that you were able to use or are still currently able to use at the Void Hunt if you do Void Hunts without equipment right now.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Thoughts on mobile in the future, iOS and Android? I'll kick that off. It's something we've talked about a handful of times over the years. It's definitely something that would be really cool, but there's a couple things that go into that. First and foremost, iOS has massive crypto restrictions. Android has loosened those restrictions, but there are considerations there. And then aside from that, what all is available, what can you do through the mobile app, how it handles wallets, all of that kind of thing are definitely very relevant questions. So even something like the Holiday integration makes a mobile app more possible in the future. But the other side of that too is we would have to stop doing everything else and make a mobile app. So it's definitely something that could be fun and could be like a companion app or something like that. But it's not in our focus currently. Anything anybody wants to add to that? All right. Can we have another PvP weekend? Maybe. Or you might just get PvP. So we don't have another weekend planned currently, but things could change. But we're pretty heads down focused on getting the launch out as quick as we can. So more than likely we will not have another test weekend, and we'll just get it launched instead.
It is an interesting idea, though, that I think is worth bringing up. Like what are ways we can reach new players, pull in communities that really haven't had access? Is there a possibility of doing with partners or guilds, like an open play test, with different groups and or a little tournament or something like that? But if they haven't really had exposure, I think that's kind of cooking in the back of our minds as well. What ways can we really reach out to new communities, maybe even at some of these crypto events, or to really kind of give them some play testing, see how fun it is, to help encourage them to hop in. So we're playing with that idea.
Awesome. Let's see. Speaking of that, in a way, Hubert, thoughts on a power up that would give periodic access to the full catalog? So maybe, every few weekends, if you have this power up, you get access to everything.
I mean, it's an interesting idea, but it does, it's kind of tricky. We'd have to have the contracts work in a pretty specific way, and there would be there's quite a few different technical reasons why that would be tricky. But also, we've said maybe in the last AMA it was that we want to make sure that ownership of heroes is meaningful, and so I don't see us doing something where it's just always available for people to just use any heroes that they want for PvP. But with that said, I mean, like Sunbear said, I think there could be cases where we do special events where that it is an option. But it would also be something where if we did that, it wouldn't be with anything of consequence. You wouldn't be able to do it in tournaments or anything else that might have rewards attached to it. So, and I think that would probably be the extent of what we would do on that side of things. But I think there's also ways that we could allow players to make their heroes available to others that we're talking about right now. So that might be the kind of the more common thing that is available when time goes on. Yeah.
Yep. Got to make sure to take care of the hero owners as well. Let's see. So this is a Beetle Dude question that I was deputized to answer. There seems to be some buggy lag here and there in combat or spastic behavior when switching tabs. Is this known? Can it be fixed? We're always looking to improve performance for sure, especially with the tab switching. That's more honestly just the browser itself. Like browsers don't really like switching tabs when there's animations involved. So that one, there may be some things we can do, but that's always one that's going to be a little trickier. But in general, in terms of like the combat engine performance and all that, that's something that we are always working on and always improving and trying to make smoother. Let's see. Jumping back to you, Hubert, for a few questions here. How do we anticipate the release of classes to continue? Are we looking at doing all basic, then advanced, elite, and transcendent, or doing some mix and matching?
Yeah, I think we are still planning to do everything kind of in the order that was just said, starting with basic and then moving on to advanced and so on. I mean, in terms of even just our design work, that's how we're going about even designing the classes. Like we have all the current basics done now. We have one advanced done. We're working on the second advanced right now, which I was talking to Workhorse about that just earlier today, and it's we got some interesting ideas on that one. Wonder what it is.
Excellent. Anything you would like to share on the math behind questing or profession skill increases?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go like deep into it because it's kind of complicated. But kind of generally, there's always a chance for a skill up increase to occur just from doing any attempts at all. It isn't a very big chance until you actually like get some rewards of some kind. If you get an egg, you get a really good chance that you're going to get a skill up. But then there's also kind of a like a clamping, not clamping, but like a, I can't think of the right word.
Capping?
It's not really capping, but you get kind of like diminishing returns on your chances, or if your skill is higher than the skill of the quest, it'll do some math to like reduce what the, like first it says, okay, you got all these things, so that means your base chance of getting a skill up is 80%, for example. And then if you're like 10 points above the skill cap of the quest, then it's going to say, okay, because you're this high above, we're going to divide that number by 9, or like reduce it by 90% or something like that. And then it rolls after that point. And so that's kind of how it works. If you have the pet bonus that increases the chances, it'll increase the base chance. I guess it doesn't. It's all commutative, but like it'll increase that chance by that percentage. But that chance might be a low number because you're really high on your skill level already. But once you get to a certain point, I think like when you're 20 points above, it reaches like the maximum diminishing returns, which is a pretty steep division that occurs. But even then, there's still like a really small chance that you'll still get skill ups beyond there, so that it never actually goes to 0.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. General question. How is PvP coming along?
Well, I think pretty good. Like there's always more things that we could do. Like right now, I think we have things in a pretty stable state. We're testing a bunch of things, but there's also, I'd say, some features that definitely could be more fleshed out and may not be as fleshed out as we would like when it comes time for us to be doing our actual release. And so I guess just keeping in mind that we are releasing things. Well, we have multiple different, like, I think there's a lot I could say, but we have a lot of different factors here. We have our contractual obligation of releasing at a specific time. We have just the amount of time that it takes to build everything and test everything. and all the things that we want to include, and the things that we are are contractually obligated to include versus things that we want to have that aren't on that contract. And just generally it's just a lot of work. There's still a ton of work that we still need to do, to have it in a state where I think I'd be like, okay, we don't need to change anything else, it's perfect. We're not even close to where I would say PvP is going to be at that point, but I think we are getting really close to a point where we can say it's releasable, you guys can enjoy it, but it may be a bit rough around the edges still, and there will be things coming later that will improve the experience as we're able to implement them.
Hubert, I gotta say, I do appreciate your perfectionist. I mean, I'm not calling you a perfectionist, but you really are a perfectionist because you love this so much. And I mean, if you all could see what is coming as the non-perfect version, I think you would be pretty blown away right now. I have been blown away as we've been in testing lately, and it's part of the reason we have such an amazing product, because our game director expects it to be really polished and really clean and fun. So I will say, not only are we meeting all the expectations for our contracts, there are several pieces in there that are not contracted that we just wanted to put in for these releases, and there's several, of course, that we're still working on that we are planning on doing. So Metis has been very impressed with all the bonuses, just because we can't help it, because we want to make such a great experience for you guys. So anyway, I just had to say something, Hubert, because you're very humble and expect a lot, and it pays off, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, I second all of that, and am very excited to start talking about some of these peripheral systems that you guys don't know about yet, but you will eventually when it's time. Any thoughts, Hubert, on so currently with expeditions, pets are not fed until the expedition is completed or canceled. So for those dueling, they need to cancel the expedition, feed them manually, and then put them back in the expedition to be able to duel and get the bonus for having the pet fed. Any thoughts on changes to how that's handled?
Yeah, so that was kind of an unfortunate side effect of how we built the expedition system. Our main goal with expeditions was to maximize what we can get out of gas, really go as efficient as possible. And one of the problems with standard questing is that we have to check all these different contracts. Like the quest contract is a different contract than the hero contract and the pet contract. And every time you jump from one contract to another, it incurs a pretty steep cost in gas. So to mitigate that, with expeditions, we don't update anything on the hero or the pet, and we just can keep all the the accumulation of updates just saved in the quest contract until you actually pull them out. And so that created this problem that we didn't foresee. I think it would be a pretty big impact to expeditions if we went away from that paradigm. The gas cost would go up and the amount of iterations you could do in one go would go down. So I don't want to go in that direction. But I think with the dual contract, we probably could have it check the quest contract to see if they're on an expedition, and if the data there says that the pet is fed. And if it does, then it could maybe do that. But that would also, that's going to increase the gas cost on duels as well. So unfortunately, it's not really a perfect solution there. And there may be some other things that we could do that is kind of a hybrid of the two, and I just barely thought about right now. So maybe I'll talk to Fox about that and see if we can maybe make that work. So yeah.
It shall be considered. But also, just to add a little caveat to that as well, again, full focus PvP. So, it's not going to be something that gets changed tomorrow, but definitely something that we can give some thought to. Any update on the leveling up power up for expeditions? Has this been possible to progress? We really have not progressed it yet. It will be a post PvP kind of thing because all of our resources are on PvP right now. So definitely not forgotten. It's a big phase 2 for expeditions. But right now is all PvP all day. Let's see, when sweep the floor button. So we've talked about this before. There's some difficulties when it comes to trying to bundle multiple NFTs into one transaction. Largely, what happens if that NFT is no longer available? Like if you're building a cart and somebody buys the hero that you were looking at. So it's not something that we really want to implement with our current system. There are, potential options there of doing like a hold time kind of thing. Like there are options, but in the current system, if you're building a cart and somebody buys one of those items, like there's just no handling for that. So it wouldn't be as simple as just adding like a list. We would also have to add a bunch of handling and different stuff there as well. So again, something we've talked about, something we've thought about maybe in the future, but definitely not in the short term. Let's see. This is a question for everybody. Why is Winston like this? I don't know. I don't know. I ask myself that regularly, and he's not even here to defend himself today. But Sunbach, Hubert, any thoughts on why Winston is like this?
I don't think he can help it. Honestly, I think he's been like this forever, and I think a lot of people will love him for it. So I do know, having done some work with him recently and demoed some things with him, the man loves what he does. He not only loves the quality control part and testing, but he really loves getting in and like creating the flow and the story of how things are meant to work together. And so I'm really glad that he's on the team. And yeah, why is he like that? I'm going to dig into that further. Maybe we'll do some psychoanalysis with him.
Yeah, I'll leave the psychoanalysis to you, Sunbach. But I appreciate Winston for how he is, all of his humor, banter, and all of the dedication he does to his work is great. It helps lighten the mood at times, and if he rubs you the wrong way, maybe you just let him rub you a little bit more. That sounded terrible.
What?
Oh boy.
And there's this week's audio clip. All right.
I got to sneak those in every now and then.
Oh man. All right, moving along from there. Thoughts on the process for distributing hunts raffles that aren't on chain, as far as like the delay between winning and getting rewards. I'm going to kick this one off, but if anybody has any thoughts, obviously feel free to chime in. Definitely something that can always be smoother. There could be potential options, but it just really kind of depends. But in general as well, like having us provide the list of winners and then having them handle the distribution also lightens the load that our devs have to take on, which is beneficial. So definitely something that we want to make smoother. I know the first Metis distribution is still pending. I am working on that as well. Speaking of that, also the Twitter giveaway that we did, I am actually working with one of the Metis folks literally right now. We're messaging as I'm doing this AMA on getting the winners picked. The picker tool that I was planning on using did not work, so we have found another one and we are working on getting that done now. There were 250 entries, so awesome. Thank you for that as well. So stay tuned for that also, but we're gonna keep on working on making that a smoother flow. All right. There's another front-end question that I was deputized for. Can there be a toggle button for the notifications in the top right that link to the Explorer when a transaction is confirmed? This may be causing the claiming process to crash. We're going to look into that, into both whether that's causing a problem, but also whether or not it can be hidden. I am 99% sure those notifications actually come from MetaMask. We just reskinned them. But we're going to take a look at that, as well as if the number of them, especially if you're like claiming a bunch of expeditions, if the number of them is causing crashing. So that has been placed on the list of Beetle Dude to take a look at as well. And general thoughts, I guess, on duels rewards, gameplay, botting of duels, etc. I will kind of kick that one off. Again, other thoughts are welcome. Duels is meant to be a mini game, so it's it's a war style heads up card game. As far as the rewards go, that is something that we're always looking at. Duels is a little bit different in terms of the rewards because it is something that like you are actively paying for, and so that is something that we look at as well. Is okay, how many people got to this level, but also how many duels did they do to get there, how much crystal did they spend to get there, that kind of thing. So it's definitely something that we're always looking at, always evaluating, and we will continue to look at it and evaluate it. But as far as like the game itself goes, it's meant to be a mini game. It's meant to be a war style game and be pretty simplistic overall, compared to like PvE or PvP. But yeah, so we will continue to look at that and monitor it and make adjustments. Anybody have anything they want to add on that front before I hop on?
Yeah, I guess I'll just, the timing of duels, like when it came out, our gameplay was either duels or just doing, manual questing. So, at the time it was meant to kind of fill a gap of, having a little bit more active gameplay. Now that we have a combat system and PvP around the corner, there's maybe room for us to look at where adjustments might make sense. But we do have also a bunch of players that do play duels, so it's kind of something where we have to make sure we're looking at both sides of the equation there. So, but yeah, I guess I can understand at least some of the concerns that were brought up though on that question.
Awesome.
Well, and because it was the first, real gameplay that could be done besides, questing and summoning and things like that, we did put a lot of extra rewards in there. We did put a lot of emphasis on it, and it was where players could go and do something fun with their heroes. But just look at where we're getting to in this game. I mean, you're going to be able to come into the game and okay, you can choose duels. Yeah, you can choose questing. You can choose expeditions. You can choose summoning, but you can also choose to jump in and play some PvP battles. You can do some hunts. There's going to be, all other kinds of gameplay types or like mobs or whatever it is where you can find on the map and play however you want. And so as there's more options, each of these will be balanced out with each other, and just be options for people to have fun and enjoy the game and utilize their heroes. So like Hubert said, it was that first place. And so I think that's why we put so much, emphasis and great rewards on it. And I'm not saying that's going to change, but it's something we're always evaluating. Are the rewards balanced for all of the systems so people can go and enjoy all of them?
Appreciate you guys. Let's see. This one is another one kind of for everybody. Can we have feedback about our PvP feedback? I'll kick it off. Yeah, I think it's been great so far. We want all of the feedback. We want the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, whatever y'all are thinking, feeling, we want to know, because it helps us. It helps us make changes, make improvements, and, have the best experience that we can have. I think so far the feedback has been, at least as far as I'm aware, pretty honest, which is exactly what we're looking for. So I would just say, keep it coming. Don't be shy about letting us know what you think. I know a few people have done some live streams about different things within the PvP side. So yeah, just keep it coming. Hubert, any thoughts on the feedback?
Yeah. definitely appreciate all of it. Thank you all for those who provided it. I think a lot of the things that were brought up were things that we've already been planning on implementing, like a shot clock or the turn timer. We're calling it a shot clock, but like we definitely want to have that. We're getting close, I think, to having something functional for that. It's a little bit tricky with kind of the way our combat system works to get that to work, so it's taking a little bit of extra time. But so that's something that we are planning on implementing. Also, like just feedback on which classes, which skills are too strong or too weak. Definitely paid attention to some of those things. Some of those like some of the comments I would say were ones that we were also aware of and have kind of planned to make some adjustments on already. But then there's some other things that have sparked some additional thought. So definitely appreciate everything there. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, no, I think keep it coming, definitely. And the game, just the state of the game, it's always going to be kind of a balancing battle between the current meta and like trying to reach a state where one or two different paths aren't like the only are kind of supreme. And I think it did kind of turn out that I saw a few strategies that people were using, and also like certain classes that people weren't using, that give me some pause and make me want to make some adjustments there. So yeah, thank y'all.
Sunbuck, anything you want to add?
No, I think Hubert nailed it. Yeah, it's fun to get the feedback and already know stuff is in the works to fix exactly what we were planning on doing. So yeah, that felt really good. It feels like we're really in sync with what's coming, what people are asking for.
Awesome. Let's see, a couple more questions and then we are probably going to wrap up a little early today. With the exclusive PvP release on Metis chain, do we plan to create a Metis Jewel liquidity pair on DFK chain and make Metis fully bridgeable between both chains via Synapse? So this is actually something we talked about internally as well. At this point, we are not planning on adding a Metis Jewel pool. In large part, realistically, because it would further divide the rewards that go to liquidity providers. It is something that we may be considering in the future. We also, maybe rebalance the pools a little bit, but anything on that front, like even adding a Metis Jewel pool, would be done through a governance vote. So anything that we try to do on that front will go to governance. So keep an eye out for that. But at this point, there's really not a need for Metis on DFK chain. And so it would, kind of further divide those reward pools, as well as potentially splitting the liquidity on Metis itself for Metis Jewel, which is also obviously very important. All right, jumping over to Sunbear for a second. With a good amount of visibility that we are starting to see, general thoughts on centralized exchange listings. Are we still working on getting listed on more exchanges? Do we think it's beneficial, etc.?
Oh, my favorite question. Yeah, so if I look back over the last couple of years, the amount of energy that we have spent to try and figure out what the best balance is here, what are the best exchanges, which market makers do we go with, what liquidity, how much do we tie up, do we justify spending sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in the fees and marketing costs that some of the bigger exchanges require. It's do we combine it with other deals if there's an exchange attached to a specific chain? There's been so many conversations and thoughts around all of this, and we've really tried to navigate it in a balanced way, especially the last couple of years being in a bear market and wanting to be thoughtful about our costs and really putting most of our costs or our funds toward direct building, direct builders to get product out. and we haven't, taken a huge plunge. I think if the market was in a different place, and if timing was just a little different, yeah, we'd probably be on some other big exchanges. But at this point, we did make some decisions to move away from, I believe it was CoinStore, and invest in an integration with DFK Chain for MEXC and make them an official partner. That one really worked out. We were able to kind of negotiate that cost down, and we were also, it was kind of like two birds with one stone. We were also able to get a lot of the Harmony jewel that hadn't been converted into DFK Chain jewel that MEXC was sourcing for that exchange, transferred into DFK jewel, so pulled over a ton of that supply, which is what we love to see anyway, and made them official partners. You'll see them pop up here soon in game, and just made it a better place for people to do that exchange. They are a top 20 as far as like worldwide volume. I wish they did have a little bit better coverage. I would love to see another exchange that did give us some more world coverage. For now, what we have done to try and mitigate that is make other partnerships that does make Jewel more accessible. For example, Hercules on the Metis chain, there's an excellent pool there where people can get Jewel and have it easily brought into the game. And of course, our on-ramp partners that will be present on Metis as well, to give another access point for those. So lots of moving pieces. I agree. I'd love to see it. It's a tricky thing to do, especially if you're not wanting to spend a lot of money or lock up a lot of jewel supply to do it. So hopefully more to come there. If there were some kind of raise and some good price movement with the market and things like that, it's a totally different ballgame, and I think definitely a different conversation. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Appreciate you, Sunbuck. Let's see. We did have one last question roll in at the last minute. Franz says that his heroes stink, which, his words, not mine. Any thoughts on win, transcendence, and level rerolls? Hubert, your favorite kind of question.
I would say it's a pretty high priority. We still have our PvP priorities as well, but for me anyway, I see durability being implemented as something that we really need before tournaments, or at least with tournaments. And once we have durability, we need equipment restoration, which means we need the whole Divine Essence system in general. So I kind of see those two things as coupled in terms of like when they should be released. So I will say, like, you guys have maybe noticed that we took down the bridge a couple times in the past couple weeks. That was done specifically to get us ready for Divine Essence. We needed to update every single hero that's still alive with their data that we had to spend a lot of effort to collect, to say, what were their original stats when they first were summoned, what has been done to them that is like a permanent stat increase that should also be stored for like level reset purposes. How many crystals did they use? Did they use any enhancement stones? Like all of that information we had to collect from everywhere. Also like stat ups from like gene re-rolling and other things, the Perilous Journey, etc. All of that data, thanks to Burr, who did a huge amount of effort to collect all of that, double check it, triple check it, quadruple check. And then thanks to Magnus as well for like having his computer basically run all night to like update everything on both chains. It's now set up at this point. I think every hero that's alive and also every new hero, like it's automatic on that. For like anything that's new, it's being tracked and we don't have to worry about it. But everything before we made these changes, we needed to make that update. And so now we have that data, we have things set up. So the last step is to like actually write the contracts, update the like the meditation circle to allow level re-rolling, level resetting, release Divine Essence and Greater Divine Essence, I'll also note that the system that I mentioned last week that I said I wasn't going to talk about, that also is maybe tied to one of the profile pics on the screen right here. That one also uses something from the Divine Essence system, so that they're like some of the formulas have been implemented somewhere in a smart contract, so that also makes that step easier when we get there. So there's a lot of work that's been done to like make that a reality. It's just kind of the finishing touches. I'll even say that the artwork is mostly there for what we want for that system too. So it's a high priority, but I can't promise any specific date. There's still just a ton of different things that we're trying to do all at once, and we're, I guess, a small team. So, but I would like it to be before tournaments if possible. That's what I'm pushing for. I can't say that it will happen for sure though.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of things that we are working on and excited to bring to you guys. Awesome. So we are going to call it there and wrap up a little early today and let Hubert get back to work on PvP, and myself and Sunbear get back to work on other stuff that is not coding. But as always, thank you to everybody who is tuned in, listening. Thank you to everybody who watches the stream later. And thank you to everybody who submits questions. Please do keep submitting questions. Otherwise, we don't have anything to talk about, and then it gets really awkward. So talk.defykingdoms.com or the AMA questions channel in Discord for what your questions are. I've been surprised by the lack of prying the last couple weeks, so I'm sure it's building up and we'll all come in a rush. But go in there, submit questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and talk about whatever you guys want to hear. But always appreciate y'all, and thank you to Sunbear and Hubert for being here today as well. Let's see. I am going to go to Sunbear next, and then we'll finish up with Hubert and let him bullish us.
Okay. Unless Hubert rejects your nomination and makes you bullish us. I think he has that power.
I'm going to veto that power. What?
Whoa.
I don't have too much to say. I can just express that how I feel. Like I'm literally my heart is pumping. I'm excited. I see what's coming very soon and over the next several months. I've never been more the B word, and just super grateful for this team and for the vision, especially of Hubert here. You don't see a lot of all the things that happen behind the scenes. We are a team, so we're always trying to figure out which direction to go, what feedback to take, what to prioritize. And he's a big part of that. And because of his vision, this game is what it is. So just a shout out to Hubert. And the reason you all know about everything that's going on, the reason you all get to see what's going on is mostly because of, Brocodile here, Bolon. This guy works day and night to bring you the content and the information and the activities and the campaigns and his faithful sidekick Pi, which you don't see a lot of, but every single one of those trailers and pictures and all the stuff that comes out visually, she's working tirelessly on. So shout out to you all. I don't know that you get shout outs as often as you should, and so I just wanted to say that. And thanks to everybody, and keep your eyes open. It's going to be quite a ride here coming.
All right. Well, thanks for all the kind words, Sunbach. Appreciate it. We
Frolgus Lilyworth.
Yeah. We really do a ton of work behind the scenes. I do see comments that say that we're too slow or various things that kind of can be discouraging at times. But I think everyone on our team is working as hard as they can and doing the best they can. And I really appreciate everybody for everything that they do, and also putting up with my perfectionism, which I know can be a bit intense at times. But it's really great to see how far we've come to see our combat engine reach this point where we can now release it as in a PvP type of format. As I said before, I think it will be a little bit rough around the edges at first. I would hope and ask that all of you in the community would help anyone who is new to help them get started. We're going to do our best to make sure that we're helping them get started as well. But we may need more time to really nail that. So in the meantime, everything that you can do to help bring people in as well would be much appreciated, because we're really entering a new paradigm here with PvP and with what we can do in this game. I hope also that you guys will be trying out lower level heroes in PvP. I just note that there are tons of settings that you can put on these matches to set a level cap. So if you want to try fighting, or rarity caps and stuff, the things like that, if you don't want somebody to just come in and smash you with their mythic level 20s all the time, you can set it so they can't bring level 20s, and you can set it so it's only level 6 or below. We are going to have an equipment shop with gear that you can purchase for levels 3 and 6 and 10. So look out for that. It will run in a similar model to the gold shop vendor. So the prices on those are going to vary depending on the frequency of purchase. It's there's a ton coming, a ton that will come afterwards. We are going to keep expanding the combat system, keep addressing any bugs that we see. We're getting close on being able to focus on pet combat bonuses, for example. And once that's done, I think pets are going to become a lot more interesting for people. And then after that, it'll be looking at the next class to implement, which as soon as that happens, I think the whole meta is going to change again. And just there's all these things that I would like to change if we can, things that I wish we could change, but maybe it'd be too much effort to do. But overall, I think every step we take is just getting us closer and closer to having just a really great system for everyone to come and enjoy and play. Really great game. So thank you all. I couldn't be more bullish.
Bullish. Thanks, everybody.
And we will see you next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation.